Okay, Thad, this is like my third time. I don't know why my screen cap thing keeps messing up, but here's the basic rundown. First, copy your text to something like this. So that you can copy and paste in the same action sequence every time and you won't mess up because it's really easy to miss a space or a comma. Next, open up your thing, put in your intro. If you want to put an action sequence here, great. Pictures, just go like this, like at the fountain. I did like a bold thing, then a picture, and for the picture you just put image source equals and then the name of your picture. And make sure to copy your pictures over to your assets folder in Eclipse. Right here. And these are just the names of your pictures. Start this up. And once you do that, we'll move on to the first action sequence here. So once you put that in, list all the items that you want them to be able to take, like the iron key. And even though the pennies and nickels exist at the fountain, they're not something you can take. So whenever you put in your text, when you get to a location, make sure you put in a space between, like your period or your last letter, and pound actions, space, pound items, any items you can take, no space, pound look, and then it's always look, take, open, speak, use, end. And when you do any kind of look action, you can reference another content box. In fact, you have to. So just look the item you want to look at, comma, no space, and then the content box. And then no space, take, and if you take something, the response for taking it is in line. Also, remember the system does automatically generate a message like you've taken the iron key. So if you want to complete that sentence with more, you can put in something else like and think this might come in handy later. Then again, and for any comma you need to put the HTML code if it's in line. Otherwise it'll think it's another response or item. And then if you have another item, you just put comma after the response, space, next item, comma, space, next item's response, etc. I'm going to stop this video because it keeps messing up if it's very long. Okay, continuing on from that video, since I'm going to make several short videos and just put them together for you. If you want to do something conditional, like you have to use one item before you can use another item. If you remember from Voices of Spoon River, at the town marshal you had to put the jug down before you could use the cane to break it, but you could put the cane down, it just didn't do anything. So there's an example of this in the Canvas announcements section that shows them putting the baby coffin in the grave, or putting it down before you use the shovel, and how it generates one content response box compared to if you actually dig the hole and then put the coffin in. So this is kind of an example of that. So town marshal here, what the items that you have in your inventory when you go to complete the town marshal segment are the jug, the cane, and papers from the prison. And the papers doesn't matter when you use those. So I've actually put papers in here as an item required, and jug as an item required. And I don't have cane because I don't want them to use it yet. However, if they do use the cane, what I did do is I actually put use cane 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is what happens if you use the cane first without putting the jug down. So it says you place the cane on the graveside. That was kind of boring, like nothing happened. And so what you do then is you can still use the cane again, but if you use the cane later, it references another one. Like if you decide, oh, I need to put the jug down, then you can use the jug. And so you loop that back up and follow the example in the announcements. I think mine's a little messed up down there. But if I do use the jug, then that goes to here. And anytime you use a use action, you've got to complete another action sequence after. And anytime you use speak, you have to do the same thing. But for the look content boxes, you don't put any of this action sequence in for the response. For example, this is looking at, actually I don't have a look here. Yeah, anyway, so make sure they put the jug down first. Here's a look, just looking at the epitaph. There's no action sequence after. And then I make him put the pile of papers down at some point, and then put the jug down. once they put the jug down, then they can use the cane. And what you want to remember too is once you use something, it does put it down. So if you use the cane, say the person did use the cane first on accident, you need to make sure you list the cane again as an item that you can take. And so you'd actually put like items, and then you'd have cane, and then you'd put take cane again. So the system would say you've taken the cane, and then again, period, next. And yeah, that's the basic rundown of this. And that should get you started at least. And then when you run your emulator, I'll cover that in another video, just want to make sure it works. Okay, so once you've got all your points done, and you want to debug it in the emulator, just make sure you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and on up. I made a mistake once of having a bunch of points and then deleting some intermediate ones. And that messed up the parser, I guess. So what I actually ended up doing was keeping like a master document with all of my text and action sequences in it. So I could always copy and paste text back in. That was pretty helpful. But when you go to debug, run your emulator. And then if you're on your PC at home, download this thing called Putty. It's free. And then when you want to connect and do the geofix thing, you just do localhost 5554 is the port that Android runs on for the emulator. And then click on Telnet, open. Once it says OK, you should be good. So geo space fix space 0 space 0, and that just centers your location for the GPS here. And then if you want to manually move around, you can do like geofix 0.000050 or whatever. I'm not sure how many decimal places there are, but there's an easier way to do it. That's if you want to move around from one point, like say you want to move from 2 to 11 manually. Otherwise, when you run the app, you can actually just click next on the app, and then once you click next, just click on the little bottom right hand corner icon and change your sensitivity to 100 meters. If you do that, it just moves through the points in consecutive order, and you can just go from point to point to point. It sucks, I think, to try to figure out exactly where your locations are, but if you do want to do that manually, I recommend that once you find where the coordinates are, that you write them down and make like a coordinate map. Someone in our group did that, and I thought it was pretty cool. There's an example right here. I thought maybe he did, maybe he didn't. Oh yeah, the prison section. And so this is like a map of our cluster, and you actually put in the GPS coordinates. This would have taken me hours. But that's something you can do as well if you want, and then just try to debug it. It won't work, or it'll give you a black screen, or say this is crashed for some reason. If that happens, you can send it to me, or just put an announcement on there, and I can check your code and should be able to figure out what works. But just do 1 or 2 points at a time, and try to get it to move from point to point, and successfully do any simple actions, and just do 1 action at a time, instead of putting all your stuff in at once. And that's why it's a good idea to code everything in that master doc first, and then add things just 1 at a time so you know what's broken and what's not, and code it incrementally like that, and that'll help you out a ton.